Okay, there we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome. So, today I decided that I would like to draw the character Ava, who I play, from the podcast Sesh, as a druid, one of my favorite D&D classes. So, druids use the D8 for a hit die, which technically makes them divine casters, because the only other class to use that are the clerics. now, now, druids fill a similar role to clerics, largely in terms of versatility. Yes, and the monks. They're the only. Them and clerics are the few spellcasters who use a d8. So, the thing about druids is that they use as little metal in their gear as possible. In the older editions, having large amounts of metal on the body would actually seriously hinder a druid in terms of casting capability. Which, if that is still present in a game, it is. Which, while it is present in 5e, that rule is also very much subject to DM's fiat, which basically means the rule applies if the DM wants it to. Hello, Mumsy. Thank you for joining us. So, one of the things I've always really liked about druids is their sheer kind of Swiss Army knifeness. Like, you can have a druid who can heal, and then less than 5 minutes later, they can switch to ranged DPS in a matter of seconds. Yeah, they can do healer, they can do up close DPS, they can do ranged DPS, they can do tank, they can do buff and debuff. You name it, druids can probably do it. um, Another reason they're my favorite is they tend to have very interesting depictions in the lore of the world. For example, in a story I DM'd very briefly, magic was still very new to the world, and as a result, casters like druids were kind of in an interesting position world-wise. Yes, they're basically MacGyver as a class. Their unique ability to shapeshift can give them a massive edge because. Okay, so allow me to explain this to you. When a druid takes a wild shape, they use that creature's stat block. If they are taken to 0 or less in their wild shaped form, they are immediately returned to their true form. And Circle of the Moon druids, who focus very heavily on wild shape usage, can shapeshift as a bonus action. So if you're running low on HP and the healer has already taken their turn and they go after the big scary thing that's been beating you up, you can wild shape as your bonus action and essentially get yourself a second life until the healer's turn comes around. Unless the person you're fighting has multi-attack, in which case, say your prayers. Some of the other circles, aside from Circle of the Moon, will allow druids to burn one of their usages of Wild Shape to cause interesting effects. Circle of the Land, I don't think does this. It just gives you more spells to play with based on certain biomes. Yes, basically. And some druids, if they get high enough level, they gain the capability to spellcast while they are wild-shaped, which can cause some interesting effects. When I play Druid, it's very typically Circle of the Moon, but I have been trying to branch out into the classes outlined in subclasses outlined in Tasha's. And if you're curious about that, we have an archived live stream of Felix and I checking Tasha's out for your viewing pleasure. Now that I've gone into the pass without trace, pass without trace can druids can do a lot of things. In my mind, one of the best reasons to have a druid around, aside from their Swiss Army knifeness, is that they develop the ability to bring back the dead pretty early on. And I don't mean like revivify or spare the dying. I mean, your character has legitimately shuffled off their mortal coil. They have access to the... Can you wild form a skunk? That one... Well, for one, druids don't have the fireball spell, and for two, that would heavily be DM's fiat. Is skunk form accessible to druids? Yes. Is fireball accessible to druids? No. Yes. Spells to cast in wild form tend to require concentration. Fireball, not a spell that requires concentration. Now, one of the things I really like to do with druids when I play them is make them exactly the Swiss Army knife class I view the druids as. Like, they have a good blend of at every level they always have at least one healing spell prepped, or I make a note that they have a healing spell prepped, or that they can cast it at that level. Yeah, druids are fun. Now, on to Ava herself as a druid. For one, she probably would have had to have left Akros for a period of time to become a druid. And second of all, it would very heavily influence her design. First up, she would probably have much longer hair than she does canonically. Like, it's down to, I'm gonna say her shoulders because utility. Yeah, Circle of the Moon druids at a certain level can make the natural weapons of their animal forms deal damage as if they were magical, which effectively means anything with magic resistance can go take a hike. So, one of the things that's going to be interesting with drawing Ava's hair, where Ava is from, and where all of the Dice Sesh characters are from, is based off of Greece. Now, Greece is known for having, and the area does actually possess curly hair more often than not. Very thick, very coarse, very curly hair. So Ava with long hair actually looks a little bit disheveled. I don't actually know what face that means. I'm just gonna draw Ava as is. So yeah, her her hair is gonna be very sort of messy, sort of. Now, druids differ from rogues in that they can carry shields. Now, if you're wondering why I'm not drawing some of the lines on this shield, that is because it is hidden by Ava's hair. Uh, I, again, have no image reference for the face in question, so I'm not drawing it. I'm gonna draw Ava as is in terms of facial expression, like just a nice neutral face. Now, Ava's time with the Druids most likely gave her very sort of. Sorry, I lost my words for a second there. Ava as a druid is definitely an interesting character concept to think about. Yeah, like she keeps her expression, unless she's actively feeling an emotion, very sort of carefully neutral. Which is largely because she, during character creation, was assigned the inscrutable special feature. Now, in Theros, being inscrutable means people trying to figure out what you're about have an infinitely harder time doing so, which is reflected in that insight rolls done against you have disadvantage. Uh Druids try to work with as little metal as possible. So I imagine Ava's trip back to civilization is not going to be as peaceful as it could be, so is the spear a little bit beat up? Yes. And it doesn't bother her too much because she has access to the mending cantrip, so she can just repair it later. Basically, it's a case of I can fix this later. Who really cares that much? Get back here. she does take care of her weapons. It's just also a, like, I can use magic to fix this later. This is not the end of the world that this weapon has a great big chip in it. I can fix this later. Oh well. Yeah. Ava, even as a rogue, has a very sort of utilitarian way of thinking, and that stays the same as a druid. Now, it does influence her design. Now, Ava, as a druid, she is still very much like the team's mom friend, but she's more firm about it. And druids in the universe. Now, when I mentioned I was doing this video, one of my lovely patrons, Rep, who is also a good friend, asked if I could cover how druids are interpreted in the universe of the Monster Girl Encyclopedia. Well, how could I do anything but oblige in answering that question? So, the way I sort of interpreted druids is that they are big fan. They feel no strong way either for or against Momono. They're just like, okay, you exist. You are a living, breathing creature, just like us. You have thoughts, dreams, hopes, desires. You you are allowed to continue to exist. Basically, they're not like the Order very much. They aren't really a fan of the Dark Demon realms, and some druids have even developed a ritual that will a Dark Demon realm to a green one. This does not purify the land, not by a long shot, but what it does do is it makes the land safe for humans to live in, which is kind of important. Yeah, it makes the ritual makes the land safe for humans to live in. Basically, yeah. Why mess with sentient beings capable of having things explained to them? Is very much their way of viewing it. Like, okay, I can explain to you, look, this area is not friendly to you and things like you. You should probably go somewhere else. Yeah, on the base. I will say this: they are most likely not fans of the radical faction. Not by a long shot. Now, Ava's design beyond her hair is also going to be a lot different after she becomes a druid. First up, she's more, I guess the proper word is open about wearing jewelry and having more traditionally female coded accoutrements. um Excuse me. Now, now, I kind of imagine Druid Ava going a bit lighter on her armor than some others would think. Like she wears the chest piece and the pieces on her shoulders, but other than that, she kind of skimps on the armor. And this is not because of any, like, deep dislike for it. Yeah. One thing Ava does still wear, regardless, is her, like, she'll wear the chest piece and the chest, shoulders, and leg pieces, but she does not wear the gloves. Well, gauntlets, I guess is the better word. Or the helmet. She does, however, still wear her combat boots. Now, something I like to play with druids is giving them tattooing on their bodies. Like, it's always very sort of knotwork and vines and patterns and a favorite cosmetic choice of mine is to make the tattoos glow when the druid is casting particularly powerful magics. And I would show you, but the back of the character's hand is not visible in this pose. I do like to give them kind of arrowheady designs on the hands to act as channeling aids. Not every druid takes these. Not every druid needs them, but I just think they're neat. So the druids I play have them. Yeah, they are, in a way, priests and clerics of nature and the earth itself. They serve the earth, and in return, the earth gives them profound blessings. I'm going to say that we can see some of that design I mentioned on Ava's hand, because at least part of the side of her hand is exposed. Now, you'll notice that I'm avoiding the elbow, the inner elbow, and the wrist for these tattoos. And that's for a very simple reason. There's a lot of blood veins right there, and if you don't know how getting a tattoo works, that could hurt a lot. Like, a lot. So, those places just don't get tattooed. Some of my druids who like to kind of flaunt their status have the tattoos come up onto the face as well, as like a denotation of rank. Yeah, they are the ambassadors in a way. Now, Ava's tattoos are not going to be too terribly pronounced on her face. Like just a couple little marks here and here. Maybe like a couple kind of swirls of it coming up her neck. Now, sometimes I draw druids where the cheeks, the forehead, all of it just inked right to heck. But for a soldier character like Ava, that just would not make any sense. Yeah. Yeah, Mumsy, your point of druids acting as like spokespeople for nature and to a degree life itself has a very valid point, and a lot of druids very often are in that role. It's like we we have spoken to nature, and nature is not happy. Now, in now Ava being a druid and receiving druid training, while it may not change her personality very much, it does very much shift her outlook on things, and to a degree, maybe even on the group she's traveling with. Now, that's not to say she'd have a problem with anyone. In my mind, I like to think of druids as very kind of open minded, tolerant people who follow the is what you do with your life hurting anyone? If the answer's no, then go about your life. So, is it still trying to. Since the foci of Shillelagh is literally just a walking stick, yes, it is just bonking someone, but it is a more markedly effective bonk. Now, back to this layer up here. I'm going to put 2 circles and scale 1 down. Maybe. Guilty admission, I kind of haven't seen the Dragon Prince yet, so any design influence it may or may not have had on my characters is entirely on my character designs is entirely coincidental. But yes, this ring sort of acts as a buckle for her shoulder piece, so it doesn't just fall right the heck off. Which is precisely what you don't want to have happen. And I'm going to draw a line here that sort of follows Ava's hip and torso line. And this is for the lacing on her. No, not what I wanted open. Yes, that probably would be Ava if it weren't for her family obligations, not gonna lie. Like, with her, it's just like, I prefer to live like this. If I could explain it in any way, it's that the only expectations the animals have of her are things she can do. Like, the animals ask, like, can you heal me? Can you heal me? Can you do something about this thing that's bothering me? It's easier to fix a wild animal's problem than it is to fix a human's problem. Now, that is not to say that Druid Ava doesn't. It'd be incorrect to say that she doesn't care about humans or other humanoids. She actually cares very deeply. And it's part of why she does what she does. She is a druid because it enables her to help, basically. Now, I know this outfit looks a little strange, but basically it's a cloth skirt that's had leather strips stitched onto it, which is very much how I imagine Ava's armor being anyway. Now, the strips are attached to the skirt, but the strips are not attached to each other. They look like that because she is at rest at the moment. She's not moving around. If she were, you'd see that the pieces are more basically they are attached to the belt, and as a result, she's more. Basically, she's a lot more flexible and a lot faster. Now, these little metal rivets in her armor, rivets, studs, whatever you want to call them, uh, they are not in enough metal to hinder her in her role. For example, the degree of metal required is like she would need to completely switch armor to a chain shirt or chain mail or something similar. Well, I should hope so, because the Acroans, from what I've read, are essentially fantasy Spartans. Now, you know what? Let's do it. If anyone's wondering what I'm doing, I'm giving Eva a hooded cloak. Now, this is a longer cloak that is kept kind of quote unquote pinned behind her by her shield. But it's still very Now, just to make a reminder, the cloth piece underneath the leather is a solid continuous skirt. There we go. Now we add. First, we clear out this layer and restore the white background. Now let's get to work on Ava's skin. Now, Ava as a druid is even more outdoorsy than regular Ava, so her skin is really very dark. Well, it's good he had a backup plan. Backup plans are always good to have. But yeah, this Ava skin would be very dark in contrast to regular Ava. Who I'm now going to be putting in the shading for. Well, it's good he had a backup plan. Because sometimes the regular plan just doesn't work. Now, there we go. Now, we go back to this layer and just take out the lines. Oh, I forgot a spot. Yeah, basically this Ava, leads a very outdoorsy, very adventurous lifestyle, and that reflects in her skin. Like she is more tanned. Now, basically in regards to Ava, she is very sort of her as a druid is if this is even possible, very sort of thoughtful, caring, empathetic, just the best way I can define Ava is aggressively considerate of the needs of others. Like, blame it on anything from her druid training to her just nature, what have you, but this is how she is. And that's not to say that she is soft. Oh no. Not by a long shot. If anything, her nature is honestly, if I were to compare her to a actual creature, what I'd compare her to would probably be a druid of some kind. Be a bear. Very sort of kind, compassionate, considerate, also willing to throw down if need be. She is good. Or well, she tries to be, at least. Oh. Okay. And we will come back to that. uh, the thing about Ava is, due to her soldier training, I imagine her being just way too. I give a I give a darn about my appearance to actually have her hair be like that. There we go. That's just a little aesthetic thing on her brow, not between her eyes. Like, this is not Eva fresh from the wilderness. This is her, like, she's been traveling on the main roads for a bit, and she has finally reached civilization. Unfortunately for them, they learned rather quickly that Eva was not the one for that. now, now this is gonna look a whole lot cooler in just a second. Actually, no. Yeah, these tattoos just have a beautiful kind of greenish sheen to them. I like to think, at least. I just think they look cool. like, full stop, I just think they're neat. Now, there are two deities Eva could have learned under in terms of druidness. She could have learned from Nylea, goddess of the hunt, archery, this world's Artemis, all that good stuff. Or she could have learned from Karametra, which is this world's Demeter. Demeter, however you want to say it. Personal preference. There we go. Now, yes, actually, that's actually a really that is something that her tattoos would probably do. Like they come to life to not necessarily defend her, but like they fuel her. Her magic is fueled and operates through the tattoos. They are. Yes, Mumsy, exactly how you put it. They are her conduits to earth, sky, and nature. They bloom, they shift, they twist. And the more powerful magic she casts, the different colors they can become. Now, this Ava is going to have the same brown eyes that regular Ava has, because making her any other way would be a little odd. Let's just fix the fish eyes. Now, through all of the. Now, you may notice I haven't really done much of anything with Ava's shield. That's largely because covering it is going to be really interesting. You see, it kinda has to be made of wood. All the way through. Like, if it's made out of metal, her magic's not gonna like that. Her magic won't like it, and in some cases that can even shut the magic down. And I just remembered her cloak's gonna be in the way of some of these, so some of the shield we're not gonna be able to see. Now, the blooms Eva casts, well, the blooms that come forth from her tattoos can vary wildly depending on what she's casting. If it's a healing spell, then it'll be little gentle flowers, but if it's yeah. Well, it depends a lot on what's available around Ava in regards to what she can cast and what flowers her tattoos manifest in. Oh, wait, that one won't be visible. Hello, Dragon Rider. But yes, basically a lot of things with Ava are very yeah, she's very much a if I can fight, I will fight. And may may God help anybody who decides they want to stand in my way. Right now, let's do a soft airbrush of that nice light blue. Now, yes, basically, if Ava is in a place where nature is at its peak, she is at her strongest. Now, that's not to say being in a city weakens her. No, 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 no. That is an assumption nobody wants to act on. Her no, her cloak, I imagine, is a very sort of dark sort of it's a dark brown with splotches and speckles and dirt. Like, it's presentable, but there's only so much you can do with it. In a way, it's very much like her in that regard. Yeah. Basically, it's a even in a city, in like the heart of civilization, Druid Ava would still be a force to be reckoned with because there are still wild things. And where there are wild things, she has power. And if you are something that is trying to... Yeah. Now, despite Druid Ava's very strong... Yeah, even weather. Basically, Ava going into a city is proof positive of the concept there is nature everywhere. Everywhere is wild. Everywhere there is nature. Everywhere there are wild things and wild places. And Ava is there to politely ensure that those things are treated with the respect they deserve. Now, I know this kind of bright pop of green at the border of her cloak seems a little odd, but I kind of like it. Now I'm gonna get a light kind of... There we go, that's a good brown. Just kind of splatter different bits and bobs. Now, this does not mean that her cloak is dirty, this just means she's been traveling a lot and hasn't had time. And it's suffered some road some roadness as a result. Now, let's make this a... that brown. Yeah, with Ava as a druid, the thing anybody and everybody should remember is that she is a force to be reckoned with. In the same way all druids are, really. You can't really stop them from doing something unless, well, you're willing to try and force them, and that's not necessarily a good call to be making. Now, yeah, and you can draw from influences like that for a druid character. For me, the big sort of design influence for Ava is like just the idea that she exists as a voice for all the hidden wild places she found as a scout in the military. And like she decided these are my places. these are the places I will speak for. And as a result, she was born, I guess. Now, her training in the Druidic arts at the beginning is very limited because she has to receive her training while she's on leave. Leave from the military, so it's very. Her training is something that's very sort of complex for her. Like, she's given things to work on. It's told, okay, get good at this. Which for her is like, okay, no biggie, I can do this. One question, how? Um, yes. The places Eva strongly desires to protect are places where if a cleric went there, they'd probably feel a very strong influence from the various gods and goddesses that govern nature. Mostly Nylea, because Ava is a scout going to these wild places and discovering their stories. And they do have stories in her eyes. In her mind, everywhere has a story. And it's Ava's job to keep those stories alive for people who might want them in the future. Hello, you're a new face. It's great to have you with us. Um, Today we are drawing my Dungeons and Dragons character, Ava, from the podcast Sesh, which can be found on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Play, a bunch of other places. Basically, anywhere you get your podcasting goodness, you can find all ages of geek there, and we hope to see you there. uh, yeah. Um, we would need, honestly, due to some things going on in my personal life right now, commissions are not open right now, but I appreciate the sentiment. Yeah, and yeah, just it's interesting in my mind to see a character like just grow and develop and become their own entity. Ava, as a druid, does kind of have a lot on her plate. A lot, a lot. Like, she's dealing with Aslan, with whatever's going on with Jude. She has a lot going on, but she is. Yeah. Honestly, I do very heavily imagine even Druid Ava being like the group's kind of mom. Now, this this necklace's cord is going to be kind of a reddish brown, largely because it is a leather cord that she hangs her druidic focus around. Um, that focus being a well, her focus is inside the locket. Focus is a little bit of plant that exists inside the locket. Yeah, a shard of amber in her locket. Thank you for helping me find my words. Words are hard. um, a big kind of thing for. Sorry, I keep trying and failing with my words. I'm not usually this bad, I promise. But yeah, a lot of what Ava does, she does in the name of finding her way and her lot in life. She knows that as a druid, her sort of sacred role is to guard, guide, and watch over the hidden, what she calls the hidden sacred places. And these are places where, honestly, we would probably describe her as having had a divine experience there. Like, these are places that have been undeniably handled by the gods, but by the same token, have also heavily influenced her. Now, I know these bits of her armor look very, very dark. These are shading, and the rest will look considerably lighter and now for the studs, we use a kind of. Here we go. Phew. Yeah, yeah, the thing is that the cloak is very sort of mushed behind her. Mhm. Okay. There we go. There we go. There we go. Um, that one, even I don't know. Maybe. We don't know. It's definitely a we don't know. Uh, we shall see. And yeah, they're going to need they're going to need the luck of the gods to try to force Eva to do anything. Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking about how well that conversation would go. Needless to say, the answer is not well. And there we go. One Ava as Druid! Huzzah! Now, I just gotta do one thing to the trees that I've always wanted to experiment with. um, there we go. There we go. Thank you. I'm really glad you think so. Anywho, thank you all very much, everyone, for coming, and I hope to see you all again soon. I got a break for lunch. Bye bye for now.